The Long Light of Andromeda. Chapter 1. The Relic in the Sky. They called it Gethin's Moon. When Gethin was young, the story went, he was out fishing on the northern tides. His fingers were numb with cold, but he had cast his lines wide, hoping to bring something home to his mother. It was then, in the midst of the starry night, that he saw it, a blinding flash in the sky, lighting the darkness like dawn for a heartbeat. And when the light faded, something enormous hung in the sky, still as a dead tree. For the elders, it was a sign from the divines, something holy and unknowable. But for Gethin, it was a mystery that burned like a flame. The ship stayed silent, unmoving, a beacon that glowed faintly in orbit. It was as if it had arrived with purpose and then fallen into a deep slumber, one so still it became another moon in their sky. Over time, it came to be known as Gethin's Moon, its dark silhouette visible even on cloudy nights, casting its own quiet light over their world. For the elders, it was a sign from the divines, something holy and unknowable. But for Gethin, it was a mystery that burned like a flame. The ship stayed silent, unmoving, a beacon that glowed faintly in orbit. It was as if it had arrived with purpose and then fallen into a deep slumber, one so still it became another moon in their sky. Over time, it came to be known as Gethin's Moon, its dark silhouette visible even on cloudy nights, casting its own quiet light over their world. Generations passed, but the ship remained, waiting. Scientists and engineers studied its massive structure, noting how it reflected the stars in perfect polish, how its hull bore silent, untouched weaponry of unknown design. Though Gethin's Moon defied all attempts at entry, refusing access to those who tried to understand it, it inspired wonder across the ages, eventually becoming a destination for all those who longed to see the mystery up close. Joviel had grown up hearing the legends of the ship sealed so tight that no one had managed to breach its hull or force entry through its doors. Despite years of commercial tours and repeated attempts by scientists and engineers to access it, the relic stayed silent and impenetrable. Space tours came and went, giving travelers a glimpse of its polished hull, but never more than that. Gethin's relic was content to remain a mystery, but Joviel had no intention of letting it stay that way. She lay on her bunk the night before the tour, staring out her small window at the faint outline of the ship against the stars, wondering if tomorrow would be the day she made her dream a reality. She'd planned every detail, how to fall back from the group unnoticed, the route through the corridors, the tools she would carry to get past the sealed doors. If she were caught, she'd face a year-long ban from the spaceport at best, a far worse punishment at worst. But she had to try. She whispered to herself, "Tomorrow, I'll be the one it lets in." As the moonlight faded, she closed her eyes and let herself imagine what she might find inside. Chapter 2. Boarding the Relic. Joviel's heart raced as she peered through the shuttle window, watching as Gethin's relic loomed closer against the stars. It was like no other vessel she had ever seen, massive and impossibly sleek, spanning kilometers with a flawless hull that gleamed like polished silver. Its surface was marked by intricate sweeping lines and strange etchings that looked like designs from another world, sharp yet elegant, imbued with an aura of purpose that went beyond simple craftsmanship. The relic was silent, suspended in its steady orbit like a watchful sentinel over her world. This ship had been the focus of fascination, study, and speculation for generations, and not just because of its sheer size. It was old, beyond old, a visitor from another age entirely, preserved perfectly against the decay of time. Every surface was smooth and unblemished, as though some force had shielded it from cosmic dust, radiation, and the corrosive effects of long millennia in space. Its silent majesty was nearly hypnotic. Despite the initial excitement surrounding its discovery centuries ago, no one had ever been able to enter it. At first, the planet's best scientists and military engineers had approached the vessel with full confidence, studying its design, attempting to understand its makeup and purpose. They brought equipment and machinery that could blast apart asteroids. They tried focused plasma torches, high-frequency sonic disruptors, and experimental magnetic fields. Yet all of it was useless. The doors refused to open, and the hull resisted every attempt to breach it, seemingly immune to all their technology. Eventually, the interest shifted from accessing the relic to simply admiring it. Abandoning the idea of accessing its mysteries, the government transformed Gethan's relic into a protected monument, opening it to the public as a tourist destination. Soon, commercial spaceports were regularly dispatching shuttles packed with tourists eager to glimpse the ancient marvel up close. The tourism industry flourished, and Gethan's relic became a symbol of their civilization's curiosity and ambition, inspiring artists, scientists, and explorers alike. The shuttle drifted closer, moving in perfect sync with the ship's orbit. Joviel pressed her face against the window, her gaze roaming over the relic's enormous hull, which extended in both directions as far as she could see. She could make out faint outlines along the sides, subtle shapes that hinted at large, ancient weaponry, long, cylindrical barrels recessed into the hull, each one ending in a pitch-black maw. Though she knew they must have been formidable weapons in their time, now they lay silent and still, as if the ship itself was holding its breath. Her mind drifted, imagining what this vessel must have been built for. Was it a battleship? An explorer? She looked along the ship's length, where intricate structures rose like towers, each one adorned with spires, vents, and geometric forms of unknown purpose. Though she had taken this tour many times, she could never get enough of the details. Every ridge, every panel was pristine, unmarred by even a scratch. The relic seemed almost proud, as though still carrying out a forgotten mission from the past, its purpose a secret only it remembered. The guide's voice cut into her thoughts, drawing her attention back to the cabin. She forced herself to listen, as he repeated the story she'd heard a dozen times before. "Gethan's relic," he said, with the practiced enthusiasm of someone who had told this tale countless times, "is the single largest and most well-preserved ship we've ever encountered. It resists all decay, all wear, as if it has some internal energy maintaining its pristine state. The ship's defensive systems, whatever they are, seem to have shut down long ago, but its hull remains impenetrable." He gestured toward one of the large, sealed entry doors they would pass in a moment. "No one has been able to force it open. Every tool and every method known to us has been tried and has failed. This ship refuses to share its secrets." As the shuttle aligned with the relic, the tourists flocked forward, pressing themselves against the viewport to get a closer look. But Joviel barely registered them. Her eyes were on a small panel she had studied obsessively, hidden among the patterns near the base of the ship's stern. The panel was unremarkable. No handles, no lights, just a faint outline where the metal was recessed. She had noticed it on her last tour, hoping that it might be some kind of concealed entry. When the tourists began to disembark for their official tour route, she slipped away, staying in the shadows, her pulse quickening. She took a deep breath, making her way to the panel with quick, measured steps. She had imagined this moment 100 times, yet now, standing here, it felt unreal. Her fingers trembled slightly as she reached out to touch the small panel. The metal was smooth and impossibly cold, as if absorbing the warmth from her hand. Joviel hesitated, her heart racing. The entry hatch was known to be unyielding, yet something in her urged her to try. She pressed her hand flat against the panel, as if greeting the ship itself. Then, with a soft beep and a gentle hiss, the hatch slid open, revealing a dimly lit corridor. Her heart leapt, and she almost forgot to breathe. The legends, the stories, the endless frustration of scientists and engineers, all of it dissolved in this one moment. The door had opened, and it had opened for her. Swallowing her disbelief, she took a step forward. She glanced back as the hatch slid shut behind her, sealing itself with a firm, resonant clunk. She pressed her hands against the closed door, searching for any sign of a release, but it was seamless, as if it had never existed. The ship had let her in, and now there was no way out. Taking a steadying breath, Joviel turned her attention to the corridor ahead. She was inside Gethan's relic, the first person to breach its secrets in centuries. The silence was profound, but in it, she felt the quiet hum of ancient mysteries awaiting her, beckoning her to discover what lay beyond.